Welcome, everyone. This is the emergency live call. Subtitle is How to Learn the Top Number One Programming Language in 2023 Fast Without Frustration and Overwhelm. So that's the typical, hyped up marketing title. But I really want to show you some tool that I found quite helpful and that I don't see anybody else using. If you don't know me, my name is Tom Schweitzer. I'm based in Vienna, Austria. I'm the founder of Teach Me Tom. I've been working in the software industry for, how long is it? More than 25 years, almost 26 years now. Professionally, I started a couple of years even before 97, but I worked for big corporations, IBM, Alcatel, Rockstar Games, also for smaller internet startups. Had different roles there: a software developer, project manager, CTO, Scrum Master, Scrum product, all kinds of stuff. Don't worry, it's not about me. I just want to give you a short introduction into why I think it makes sense that you might spend maybe a couple of minutes. We should be running around an hour or so with me. Published a couple of mobile apps, more than 50 to be precise. And the idea why I'm telling you this is not to brag, but actually I accomplished all of this without any formal computer science education or a computer science degree. I'm just a normal guy. I'm no quote unquote genius. So I know the typical roadblocks that people who want to learn programming are having, like feeling not smart enough or not young enough, not old enough, or too old, too young to think they could learn programming. I know I felt that way a couple of times in my life. Again, I'm not having any formal education, certifications. I mean, I have a few, but they come way later after I spent like the first 20 years or so in the industry. So people feel this is like a roadblock. They can't really learn programming without a proper education, and this is hard to get. Maybe it's expensive. They don't really start. Common problem also is not knowing where to start. I mean, this is the internet, right? We've got, I don't know how many millions of hits for programming tutorials. If you Google that, if you search on YouTube, you've got, I don't know how many years you could watch programming tutorials. But if you don't know where to start and what to look for and how to structure your learning path, it's going to be very difficult and you're feeling completely overwhelmed and frustrated. And again, I'm telling you this because I felt that way more often than not. And I think you should keep watching because in this presentation, I'm going to be covering what I think is not just me thinks, but I'm going to show you some research about the top number one programming language that you should learn so you can focus your time on the right kind of knowledge in order to, get rid of that overwhelm, not knowing where to start. I'm going to give you my opinion on where I think you should start learning programming. Also, I'm going to show you how to practice and learn programming from anywhere in the world, really, using just a web browser, no complicated stuff to install. And I'm going to show you how to do this by using a weird Google product that I came across that almost nobody knows and uses when learning programming. And if you do that, you learn programming fast and guaranteed. And I'm going to give you a free gift that you can use together with that tool in a couple of minutes. But first, let me tell you that learning programming can really be easy if you do it the right way. And I'm going to show you this in this presentation. So if these questions sound familiar to you, like too many programming languages to choose from, which one should I choose? There's so many experts, which ones should I be listening to? They're telling the exact opposite of each other. I'm not really sure if the information that they're telling me is outdated. Or if it's current. I've getting some weird error messages when I'm trying to install something because the version doesn't match. I need to install complex software tools before I'm even able to type the very first line. I'm not sure if my computer hardware is good enough for running these tools, right? If I need to purchase a new computer in order to be running these kind of things. And also if my own brain software is good enough. Will I be able to get this? Will I be able to understand what they are trying to teach me, right? These are all questions that people who want to start learning programming have. And I know that I did. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just telling you that's the way that I feel, and that's the way that people who approach me tell me how they feel. Also, question is, how much time do you need to spend to learn programming, right? I mean, there's courses on typical platforms that span like 50 plus hours of video content. Where should I get that extra time, right? And if I'm spending the time, what if I'm learning is really useless in the real world? What if I'm really betting my stuff on the wrong horse there? And how can I ask somebody if I don't understand something? And bottom line is, are computer programmers some kind of superhuman geniuses? These are sort of not really questions that you would be writing down on a piece of paper, but in the back of your head you might be having these. And the question is, where do these assumptions come from? Well, I mean, you've seen this picture there. It's from the Matrix. We are used to seeing these expert hacker type programmers in movies and TV series, right? They're speaking a language that nobody can understand and hacking weird symbols in their keywords in a dark room by night. So this is kind of the pop culture image of a programmer. Also, not just pop culture, but actually the reality of these programmer billionaires like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg. They can be considered geniuses, right? You've got the young Elon there with his PayPal monitor. But the truth is, the hacker type kind of things are stories, right? This is not a reality. And the billionaire programmers are the rarest of exceptions, but it's not the way where the usual software industry works like, right? So I'm here to tell you, programming is just a skill that anybody really can learn. There's no genius IQ required. I know that I'm no genius, and I did it, and I accomplished it. And you don't need this hacker hoodie that you see there either. So let's do this. Start with the first question that I wanted to answer. So what's the top #1 programming language in 23, so that we can focus our time that we are spending, our precious time here, on gaining the right kind of knowledge? And how do we answer that question? Well, we use online tools, right? We look online and Google, but there's all kinds of blog posts and surveys and stuff. So we need to know what to look for and how the source where we're looking at, the surveys and the blog posts, how they are actually calculating and how they're getting their data from. And there's one often quoted index, excuse me, there's the TOB index. I don't really know how to pronounce that properly. It just counts the number of web pages with a certain language name, right? So you've got a title of any web page, and if there's a title with a page title of Java or Python or JavaScript or C# or whatever, then it counts towards that index. And the language with the most web pages available is the one on the index #1, right? But in that sense, it's a kind of a lagging indicator because it takes some time to create a new website and to produce content. So it's a little bit behind maybe the actual stuff that's being searched for. But we're going to talk about it in a second. But the TOB index is often quoted. And let's take a look at it. The top 5 languages this year from the TOB index, starting from the bottom, #5, C#, #4, Java, #3, C++, #2, C, and #1, Python. And you see here in the first column, this is the December 2020, that's 2022, that's the most recent data here, and the change from 1 year before, 12 months before, December 21st, you see that Python stayed at the top spot, C stayed at the second spot, and there was a change. Java actually fell from the 3rd position into the 4th this year. And C++ gained 1 position there. Okay, so that's the TOB index. There's another type of index that's called the PYPL index, that stands for Popularity of Programming Languages. And this is created by counting how often language tutorials are searched on Google. Okay, so the TOB index is how many websites are there available, regardless of how many people are actually looking at the website. But the PYPL index is counting the number of times that people are actually searching for a language, and not just for the language itself, because Python could also mean the snake, right? But actually language name tutorial, and in that way it's a leading indicator. It shows the popularity, because if a language is popular, then a lot of people are searching for that language. And let's again look at that index from the bottom up. So we've got C, C++, C#, JavaScript, Java, and Python again at number 1. Interesting. And there was actually no change to the previous year. Python, Java, JavaScript, C#, and C++, and C were in exactly the same order 1 year ago. And you see what's also interesting is the share here, the gap from the first to the second position. Java with almost 17%, but Python with 28%. And both of them, you see, they gained a little, they lost a little, but basically they kept their positions. So what we see there is we've got 2 indices, one with a sort of a lagging methodology to determine what's the number 1 spot, and the other one with a leading indicator, that's PYPL, and both of them have Python as number 1. So that's something to think about. But let's double check that with Google Trends. If you're not familiar with Google Trends shows you different search terms in relation to each other. And if we enter our, let's say, 4 programming language there, Java, Python, JavaScript, and C++, you see the timeline of how the people were searching for these search terms across the times. And we start here in 2018, so these are the last 5 years here. And you see that the top position definitely changed from Java, being here the blue one, to Python, which has a huge spike here in the last couple of, well, let's say it's a year or so. Maybe there's something changed where they count something, but it's significant. You see, basically Java, the curve for Java taking down and Python really gaining traction there. It's also funny in Google Trends, if you happen to try that out yourself. You can do that, of course, with any search term in Google Trends. But you see the breakdown by region, and you see that Python is the number 1 spot and literally everywhere in the world, but a few outliers there with Mexico and a couple of Eastern European states where there with JavaScript and Java. But yeah, you see that Python is basically leading there in the whole world. So it doesn't really matter where you live. Python is the way to go, at least related to this service here. And one last thing, just to complete our picture, I show you the Hired State of Software Engineers report. I have the URL down below there, but if you Google Hired survey or Hired Software Engineer survey, then you find this survey. And here in that, there's a couple of questions they ask, but they ask the favorite and the least favorite languages for software engineers, from software engineers. So basically people working in the software industry who are being asked, what's your favorite programming language and what's your least favorite programming language? And again, here Python leads number 1 as the most favorite language. Followed by JavaScript and Java and others. And there's a couple of other survey answers there. Top security engineer skills, Python number 1. Backend engineer skills, Python number 3. Data engineer skills, embedded engineer skills. So every time there, and this is the most recent survey there, the most recent numbers. So every time Python is in the top 3 here. Also top skills by company size for small and medium businesses, for mid-market businesses, and for enterprise businesses. You see the technologies and the languages, they're changing, but Python is always in the top 3 there. So we seem to have found an answer to this question, what's the number 1 top language in programming, to learn programming in 23? It seems to be Python. Okay. Cool.